Very beginning. Where did life start out for you, Daniel?
Life started out for me in Rockhampton, up in central Queensland, hot, humid area. So not much winter, maybe a week if you're lucky. Owned one jumper in my time that I lived up there, so
Right.
it's been a bit of a change moving to a colder climate. But yeah, Rockhampton was home. My family been there as long as I can remember. It's just a country town, so we're classified as the beef capital up there in Rockhampton, and a lot of cattle, trucks. It's kind of the gateway. If you want to head any further north of Queensland, you've got to go through Rockhampton, but fairly large population, about 100,000 people up there, and just really enjoyed my time up there, especially with the family. But I lived in a what we call a Queenslander house. So, nice airflow, big high off the ground. But my grandma and grandfather lived down the street. So, on one corner of the street, we lived on the opposite corner, and my auntie lived in the middle. So, it was a very family friendly environment and family affair there. But it was also good because you had places to visit throughout the week and everything. So, I did enjoy that. Having family close by was always helpful, and that's been a bit of a change for us since moving to Mount Barker. It's, family are thousands of kilometres away, so that always adds a difference to dynamics. But Rockhampton, growing up, primary school, I remember bits and pieces with only a small school, and it's a very sporty place. Everything revolves around sports. So I really remember that involvement in many different sports, from cricket to tennis. I think we had a little bit of a hand in softball, but that was not for long. And then rugby league, or I think you call it down here rugby, even though there's two different versions of the sport,
Yeah,
but we won't get into that now. So that was, I suppose, first involvements in life really was finding that commitment, and where I really sort of sat in those spaces, never saw myself as a big sports person, probably until I really started playing it. My dad is a bus driver, so traveling was just his passion. He loved being in the car or the bus and traveling places. Mum, she's had a few different line of work. She started as a nurse that I remember, and it's possible that she had a job before that, but my early memories of mum is a nurse. She then transitioned to being full-time mum. So I had a little brother, and I'll get to that shortly, but and then she transitioned into community service work. So she really enjoyed that type of field and space. But yeah, so mum and dad, very tight-knit family. We enjoyed doing things together where we could and being a part of that. But have an older sister. She's currently in Hervey Bay, actually as a minister there. But we didn't really get along all that well as young kids. We tended to kind of keep to ourselves and have our own space there. But at the same time, I think family holidays, I do remember a lot of connection with her. And then I have a younger brother who is about 9 years younger than me.
Right.
Hence why mum ended up being full-time mum for a while. He's 6'5", giant in the family, but again, probably that separation and that space was in an interesting time in my life. And I remember using him as a tackle bag for a little bit of period of time, in a polite way as a little kid, and, put the pillows down and sort of having that space, trying to find how I engaged with somebody 9 years younger than me, was a difficult space. But yeah, really, really close now. It's one of those things we're constantly on the phone or messages and communication, just keeping up with each other now. But I would never have thought that 30 odd years ago when we were growing up together. So family time was good. It was really valuable. Birthdays, I remember, very family orientated, and it was always about being together, and nothing else mattered on the day. If it was your birthday, everyone's together. If it was Christmas, that was about a 3-day event. Different family from all around Queensland would sort of come together, and we'd join into that space together. And yeah, so there was always an adventure. I have a little bit of a mischievous side. Some people may not believe it, but primary school was not my ideal time growing up. There was a running joke that grade 2 I spent more time in the principal's office than I did in the classroom. Don't know why really, but it's just one of those things. I think easily swayed, easily pulled around and just trying to find out probably who I was in that time and space. So that was fun. My biggest memory of primary school would have to be my grade 6 teacher. And I remember she was away for 3 or 4 weeks at the start of term. And I was like the worst kid in class. I was misbehaved, didn't do a thing right. And I remember her coming back, and I remember it vividly. She sat me down and went, "You're better than this. You can do more than this. You know, I want you to turn around and find a better path for what you're doing." And that really, I think at the time, rattled me a little bit. And probably at the time, I probably laughed it off and walked away. But I probably found that rattled me the most, but probably my biggest memory of primary school to date. After that, I started probably to pursue a little bit more leadership. Started on the sporting field. So I wanted to be more of an example. Look, I pushed for captaincy on the football team. Never ever happened. Never understood why, but it kept driving me to want to be and to do better. That led then to applying to be school captain in primary school. I didn't get that. One of my good friends, who was my best man at my wedding, ended up getting that, and I didn't envy him, but I got sports captain. So I was pretty excited by that. And I think from there, it kind of just helped to push for who I was, and really made me stop and think, to sort of reassess where I was at and what type of things I was doing. So that transition then from primary school to high school, I found that a bit difficult. Again, I think, you go from being the eldest in a school and I suppose showing leadership to just filtering in. We went from a primary school of about 100 kids to a high school of 1,200 kids. So you just get lost in a system. So we were grade 8 still at high school. We hadn't transitioned in Queensland at that point in time. Turning up, and there was 10 cohorts of grade 8s with about 20 odd kids in each class. And the group of kids I was in, it was a bit of a difficult space. They were, I suppose, kids that were still finding their way as well. So there was a few issues, a lot of clashes in the classroom, just a lot of personalities that did not get along at all. And so,
was it ever physical? You hear about people throwing chairs around and stuff like that.
Look, I've got a few burn marks on my arm from those days where one of the kids would, use the bottom of a razor or something like that, and they'd heat it up so much and then hit your arm with it. We didn't have a lot of probably physical, but it was just probably almost directed to the teachers. It was more of a discipline, I'd probably call it, space where everybody just talked over the top of everyone else, and there was just no cohesion at all in the space. So most of grade 8 was quite difficult. I'd actually received a sporting bursary going to the school. Mum and Dad struggled a little bit financially at that point in time, so just to be able to get that support was really good. But my sister had been, 2 years in the school. She's 2 years older than me. She was very academic, she got ducks in primary school, and she was always fairly high up in her marks, even in high school. And I do remember my first sort of week at school, that comparison of, are you going to be like your sister? Oh, yes, we've got Daniel, and he's going to be just like his sister. And I'm like, no, actually, I'm not. You've picked the wrong person if you think that's going to happen. So I probably rebelled against academics just because of my sister. But at the same time, I could pursue if I wanted to. But yeah, that grade 8 threw me around. There was a few instances where, as a class, we probably upset teachers. And it wasn't until the sort of that last term of grade 8 that I realised that I'm actually contributing to this. I'm, actually supporting the negativity that was happening in that space. So maybe
that might be a good spot to pause. It sounds like there's a bit of a turnaround about to come.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching this short clip of Life Bursts. Make sure that you hit the subscribe, like, and follow button. And for more, head to rawcut.com.au.